Hello, hello. My name is Kalen of Arcadia, and today I am bringing you the first entry in what I'm going to be calling my Progressive Build Guide series. We're going to be starting today with my favorite secondary in all of Warframe, the Tenet Diplos. Now, as this is a Tenet weapon, there's always the first question we have to ask ourselves. What valence bonus are we going to be picking? I ended up going with Magnetic. There's a couple of different reasons for this, but the most important one will only really be visible as we get into the later stages of this build. Alright, let's get started with what I'm calling the quote-unquote fresh player build. This build is built with the expectation that the player has invested enough to get a Tenet Diplos, but hasn't spent a bunch of time farming out different mods for the more advanced builds. Starting with the basic crit mods, Pistol Gambit, and Target Cracker, to leverage the fact that the gun already has some decent existing crit stats. Hornet Strike at early levels is always a good option, especially before you have access to any arcanes that might replace that base damage. We have our basic elemental mods, Toxin and Cold for viral and Heat just for standard heat, which is, in my experience, a good general purpose elemental spread for non-status weapons. Now, the only mild stretch to the fresh player title is Barrel Diffusion. Rare mods can sometimes be a little harder to come by. Some players get lucky, some players don't, but Barrel Diffusion is always a good power spike. Let's see how it performs. I've decided that today we're going to be testing against Rogue Arco Canids level 175 and Steel Path modifier on. The reason I picked them is because at current, their armors don't offer us any serious advantages or disadvantages, but that may well change with the upcoming armor and status rework. Let's pull these up. Pull out the Diplos, and fire away. Now, as you can see, some of those initial shots ended up hitting the Arco Cannon behind it, but for an early game build, I would say it handles things quite well. Now here we have our second step of this build process, moving up from what I would call fresh player to what I would view as pre-arbitration builds. You're still keeping your standard crit mods, you've got your Hornet Strike still and your Barrel Diffusion still there, but you've upgraded to 60/60 status mods. Now, we've got Frostbite, we've got Pistol Pestilence, we've got Scorch, which maintains the existing viral heat and magnetic from the valence bonus that we had on our earlier build, but the increased status chance, while not looking massive on a gun that fires as quick as this, can make a huge difference. I've also brought in Anemic Agility, a corrupted mod, for some increased fire rate at the cost of a little bit of damage. I've found that overall the adjusted fire rate balances that out quite nicely. Now let's see what that upgrade can really do for us. We're still going to be testing against our 175 Rogue Arco Canids, but we should find that things clean up a little quicker and a little more consistently. Headshots still make a difference, but I've found that things die a little smoother and it's a little easier to get kills. Now let's see what the final version of this build looks like. There's quite a bit of change here, first of which being an upgrade to both of our crit mods. We're now running the primed versions of both. This offers us a solid 103% crit chance, guaranteeing us yellow crits, and a 4.6x crit multiplier. The next upgrade comes in the form of Galvanized Diffusion, offering us stacking multi-shot on kill over the flat multi-shot that Barrel Diffusion offered. Next, I've removed Anemic Agility, taking its place as Accelerated Isotope. What we lose in fire rate, we make up for with radiation damage, bringing our total different status types up to 7. Supercharging Galvanized Shot, a base status chance mod that gives stacking damage on kill per status type affecting the target. This is a huge workhorse in the build and is absolutely a must-have. Our elemental mod spread remains largely the same: Pistol Pestilence for Toxin, Scorch for Heat, and some form of cold mod. I typically run a Riven, but Deep Freeze works just as well and has a primed variant if you decide to go that route. You'll also notice the removal of Hornet Strike. This is more than made up for with the arcane that we're running, Cascadia Flare. Cascadia Flare offers us stacking damage on heat proc up to 480%. For those that don't have access to Cascadia Flare, Secondary Merciless is a good general use option, although its damage cap isn't as high. The final mod on this build, Pistol Ammo Mutation, is entirely optional, and you can put kind of whatever you want here. Now, let's see what this is going to get you in terms of damage. A reminder that most endgame builds take a few kills to get themselves going, so let's see how that works. While things start off a little bit slower, once you get all of your buffs going, you can really output quite a bit of damage. And well, that's really all there is to it. The Tenet Diplos are an amazing secondary that feel incredible to use and deal quite a bit of damage. Feel free to give them a try and let me know if you have any feedback on the builds. Goodbye.